if you need permission to buy more yarn, there you have it, because knitting is good for you and it protects your brain from aging and helps ease depression. Well, hello, welcome to episode number 5 of Michelle's Fiber Studio podcast. My name is Michelle and I am your host. Today is Friday, May 10th. It is a beautiful day. We've had, it was partly cloudy, although we've had a fair amount of sun. It's been rather pleasant. The temperature is about 60 degrees today. And I'm actually just happy because at the beginning of the week, when we were looking ahead, we had beautiful weather on Tuesday, and then the rest of the week, it looked like it was going to be all rain. So I am just thrilled that we are seeing some sunshine at all. So we will take it. You can actually see a little bit of the sun coming in behind me. It is Friday as I'm recording. I have a really busy weekend coming up this weekend, where it's Mother's Day weekend. I don't want to take some time on Sunday to record, so it's really only been about 5 days, but I do have a finished object to share, as well as some progress updates and a new project. But before I get started with that, let's talk a little bit about what I'm wearing or what I'm not wearing. The only knit items on me, which you really can't even see, well, actually here, can I pull my foot up? Oh, there we go. I have my socks, my knitted socks. They are Avocardio, my Avocardio Socks. They are knit with one of my Yarnables Hypnotic yarns. It was, I didn't make a note, I want to say it was last March, maybe? March of 2023's colorway. Avocardio was the name of it. That was yeah, I think it was, because it was green and that probably would have coincided with St. Patrick's Day. Today we had a competition all week long. It was Teacher Appreciation Week, which I will talk about more a little bit later, but we had a Harry Potter theme. We were all assigned to different houses, and today we had to dress according to our house. And the staff who does not have a core was Team Slytherin or House Slytherin, and so we were supposed to dress in green. So I am in green, including my green socks. So that is all the knitting I am wearing. Marta has another one of my favorite shawls. This one is Quite the Opposite by Stephanie Shiman. It was a project that I did in the summer of 2022. And it was a yarn, I guess it's a kit, I could call it. I had picked it up from my local yarn store, and it's a Wonderland Yarns kit. And it has one skein of the Mad Hatter and another skein of the Unicorn yarn, which is the mohair blend. And they were bundled together. And I want to say that the pattern was one that came with the yarn, but I can't remember exactly. But in any event, that's what I chose to knit with it. It's a really fun, primarily garter stitch, where you've got the mohair that's blended in between. And this is one of my go-tos. I wore this a lot the last couple of winters. So that's what Marta is wearing today. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. So on my blocking board, I do have a finished object. I am really excited to share. I finished my Americana shawl. I'm actually showing the back. Here, let's show you the front. So last week, when I was sharing the shawl on the podcast, I showed you my yarn, and I was really close to running out. As it happens, when I sat down, I did weigh my yarn, and then I knit 2 rows, or well, it's really 4 rows, but it was 2 pattern rows of the red, which was the next color. And I realized that I was not going to have enough red to knit another set of repeats. So I actually only had 4 rows to go, and then I was able to bind it off. So I was able to do that on Monday. I'm really excited, A, to have this off the needles, because it's something that has been kicking around for quite some time, and B, just to have it completed. Let's see, I tend to take my triangular shawls and then wrap them around this way. Oh yeah, that is going to be super fun to wear well, Memorial Day is a holiday, so maybe I will wear it on Tuesday when we go back to school, and hopefully it's not too hot. I can always wear it for a little while and then take it off. But I'm really excited to have this done. The yarn is, again, the Queensland collection United, and it came in 3 different colors that I had. This is the rose hip. I have my label for the white, which is just ecru, and the blue I did not, I had a lot of the blue left, so that label is still on the yarn, and I didn't grab the yarn. I had, I want to say 3 or 4 grams each of the red and the white, and then I probably had half the skein of the blue, if I remember correctly. I do have a thought of what I'm going to do with that yarn, so stay tuned. Probably not right away, but maybe sometime next month or this summer. I do have a thought for what I will use those leftovers for. I'm actually kind of excited. I think it'll be kind of fun. So that is what I have on my blocking board for this week. Project bag, I have 4 projects that I'm going to talk about this week. I'm going to start with my Feel the Breeze. Now that my Terrell Dago is completed, this is the next one to get my attention. And so I had to guess, where's my stitch marker here? All right. So I had to guess where I was, and I think I was somewhere about here the last time I really talked about it. I know I still had quite a few rows to go in this color section before I shifted, but I am in the second color on my second ray, and there are 16 rows that you do kind of in the lace that creates like the rippling effect before you then just go back and forth. And I have one more 4-row repeat to do in that, and then it's just a back and forth, and so it'll actually be a pretty good mindless project at that point. I have shifted my yarn into my little yarn cozies, so let's talk about the yarn. Actually, I do have labels in the bottom. So I bought a kit from Miss Babs. This was the here's the postcard, but it's the Inspired Adventures Club that Miss Babs is doing, and this was the first quarter's project. So I got the kit from Miss Babs. The colors, the set of 6 colors is the gradient set. It's yummy 2-ply, and it was Porto. And I have all of my little labels here. But then the main color is Tempo, and that is my my full skein of yarn. So I had a full skein as well as the little gradient set. And so now that I've got these nicely put into my yarn cozies, and can you see that? I matched my cozies with my yarn, sort of, kind of. So those are the colors that I have. This was what I had left of the first color, so quite a bit, but it is the first color and it's getting bigger as it goes along. So I'll be curious to see by the time I get to the end how much leftovers I have, and then at that point I will decide what I'm going to do with those leftovers. Not even remotely thinking about that. I just want to get this going. This is something I cast on in February, pretty much as soon as I got it. And then after I had bought the yarn for Terrell Dago, and I was all excited about that one really kind of took over my thought process, and that's what I focused on. The yarn, the 2-ply, Yummy 2-ply is 100% merino. I am knitting it on size 4, 3.5 millimeter needles, and it is now going to start to move along. So I'm pretty pleased with that. So the second project that I will talk about is my Ameyo, and this is my brioche shawl. This one also I think is going to get a fair amount of love, and it's continuing to grow. There's my stitch marker, so I've gotten a fair amount done. I'm really enjoying brioche, which I never had a real big desire to do it, and I'm not sure exactly what triggered in my head to think that it would be fun. what I'm really enjoying, so with brioche, for those of you who are unfamiliar, you essentially do each row twice. So you knit across with, in this case, your color A, which is my fingering weight yarn, and I'll talk about the yarns here in a second. So you knit across with the fingering weight, and then you slide the needle over, and you pick up the mohair, or color B, and you knit across with that. And so you are slipping stitches and knitting every other stitch. So that's how that works. So you do that on the right side, and then you do it on the wrong side. And so the difference is that on the right side, color A is the focus color, and the stockinette or knit stitches really stand out. And then on the wrong side, color B, in this case the mohair, is what really stands out. So what I'm finding is, yes, it's double the work, but I have on the right side with the fingering, color A, that's my row where there's a lot of the pattern that I have to pay attention to. After that, when I slide it back and I go across color B, it's really straightforward. And then the same thing, both of the wrong side rows are really straightforward. It's kind of the equivalent, if you've knit lace, of knitting the lace on the wrong side and then purling back across on the wrong side. That's kind of the equivalent. So really only every fourth time I knit across something am I having to concentrate and focus. So it's turning out to be a really nice little respite. The other thing I'm also enjoying is it's not super heavy, and the muscles that I'm using are a little bit different. I've been struggling a little bit with fatigue in my left hand, and I actually started wearing a brace to bed last night. I'm hoping that that will take care of it. So when I'm doing some of my other projects and then I'm finding that my arm and my wrist are complaining, if I shift to my brioche, then I can actually do a little bit more knitting, because this uses and works kind of a different set of muscles. So that's the other nice little bonus. So let's talk about the yarn. These yarns are both by Haute Knit Yarns. And the first one, the color A, which is my fingering weight, is the Jimmy Sock. And it is in the Summer Clover colorway. And then the mohair is the Abigail Lace, and it is in the 38 colorway. And I know Haute Knit is shifting kind of what their mohair type of yarn is going to be. So currently they still have some, but I believe it's all on sale because they're going to be shifting that. But I'm really enjoying that. Again, I got these in my yarn cozies, and it's really fun. So that's that project. All right, get this tucked away. My next project on my list is my Musselburgh hat. I had a really busy week at school, and again, it's only been the 5 days, although this is my school knitting. So there's that. So let's figure out, let's see. I didn't even take it out today. That's how busy my week has been. Oh, I didn't get too much. It was not too bad. It's respectable. So I got what, maybe an inch or so done this week. I'll take it. I was on the go a lot this week. I had a lot of things kind of popping up in the mornings and at the end of the day where I wasn't always able to take the time to do some knitting. So that's that. My yarn here in my yarn cozy is my Hypnotic Yarns. This is my February 2024. There's my Hypnotic Yarn Yarnables label. Make sure it's not upside down. And the colorway is Love is Love. And I'm really loving, no pun intended, loving the purples and the aquas, and it's just kind of a really cool colors. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Kind of got an icy look to it, doesn't it? Perfect for a hat. Oh, there goes my dog. Okay, one more project I have that I want to talk about in this section. I started my Boxy. Yes, I did. Look at that. It's not much to look at, kind of a curly mess. I did get it started. So let me talk about the yarn first. This is my Wonderland Yarns. It is Mad Hatter and Jub Jub Bird is the color. So that's what you can see that color there. I have it in my float tote that I finished. So what I ended up doing is, if you recall, I had 2 different yarns that I was auditioning. And I really wanted to do this yarn. It's a sport weight, which I told you last week it was a heavy fingering. It actually is a sport weight yarn. So the pattern is written for fingering. So I needed to, of course, to swatch. And I wasn't sure if it was gonna work. So I took this yarn here, which was left over from my advent calendar that I got last winter from Wonderland Yarns. And it's the same yarn. And so I decided that rather than skeinin this up or caking this up, I would swatch with this gray since it's the same yarn. And if it didn't work, then I would try skeining the other yarn, but then I wouldn't have the purple, my Wonderland purple yarn in a cake if I wasn't gonna end up using it. So let me talk about my mess of a swatch here. I started, this is a top. Okay, so actually I started this way. So on the bottom was my first try, and I started with size 5 needles, and I came out too big. I washed it and blocked it. I left it attached to the ball, came out too big. So I'm like, okay, and it was definitely more loose than I wanted to. I really didn't like the look of the swatch. So then I picked out the bind off and I changed my needles, picked up my stitches, and I decided what I was gonna do was swatch in size 4, and then I put in a garter row and swatched in size 3. And what I did is I took my light bulb stitch markers here, and I have 3 of them, 1, 2, 3. So I know this is my size 3 swatch. I have 4 light bulb stitch markers in this one and 5 on that one. So that way I could keep track of what size needles I was using. So I decided I liked the fabric of the size 3, but the gauge was still a little too big. The actual gauge is, I believe, 23 stitches over 4 inches for the pattern, and my size 3 needles were giving me 21 stitches. So what I did is I took out my calculator and I calculated the size that I wanted and how many stitches I would need to cast on to get that size. Now the thing with the Boxy is that really the difference, because it's an oversized sweater, the differences come in the sleeves primarily. You have one set of cast on for the smallest size, and then like the next 3 sizes all have the exact same stitch count, and then the next 3 sizes after that all have the same stitch count. So I feel pretty confident that I can play with this with my yarn and with the gauge that I'm getting and kind of do my own calculations and still come out with something that is gonna work. You start from the bottom and work up. So my plan is after I have, I don't know, a couple, maybe 3 inches, I will possibly block it and then kind of try it on to see how it's fitting, if I like the amount of stitches that it has. And then when I get up to the sleeves, I will have to do some more math and figure out how many stitches to deal with to make it work for my gauge and for my size and for what I need. So that is my Boxy. That's the modifications. I ended up casting on 20 stitches fewer than the smallest size. I don't want to tell you any more than that because I don't want to give away anything in the pattern, but that just for informational purposes, that's where I landed with that. So that is my newest cast on. It's at this point, there was a little bit of ribbing. You start with 4 rows, I think it was 4 rows of ribbing, and then you move, let's do the right side, huh? Then you move right into the stockinette, and then you do like 16 inches of stockinette. So this is quite literally perfect for pick it up, put it down, meetings. I brought it to Bible study earlier this week. Like, this is going to be a perfect just project to do when I need something to occupy myself, that I don't want knitting to be the focus. That's what I can grab. so I don't have any project dreams. I don't have anything new on my yarn shelf. So we're gonna move straight into this week's knitting fact. And what I liked about this one is it kind of ties into what I do every day as a school counselor. So according to Fact Finder, and I've heard this from other sources as well, knitting acts as a natural antidepressant and can help ease anxiety, depression, and chronic pain. And it can also protect the brain from aging. So there you go. Knitting is good for you. If you need a doctor's note, I bet you could even get one. So, and if you need permission to buy more yarn, there you have it, because knitting is good for you and it protects your brain from aging and helps ease depression and anxiety. For this week's Day to Day, again, it's only been 5 days since the last time I podcast, but it's been a busy week at school for sure. We did 3 more of our elementary school visits. They all went really, really well. I've had some really great feedback from the schools, the elementary schools, and they feel like we've done a great job with the presentation and to make middle school feel a little less scary. So that's really good. Our ambassadors, we took some kids with us from each of the schools, and they have done a great job representing the middle school and sharing their experiences. So that was really good. And then this week, the big thing is it is Teacher Appreciation Week. And like I mentioned earlier, we have a fantastic PTO, and they did a Harry Potter themed Teacher Appreciation Week. They broke us all into different houses, and we had a house cup competition and everything. They had, every day had a different theme that we had to do. I think Owl Post was on Monday. One of the days was the sorting hat, and we had to wear hats. We had Quidditch Day, and we had to wear sports gear. Free Dobby Day, we had to wear mismatched socks. And then we had all these different treats in the staff room. We had things from Honeydukes on one day. Today was off the trolley, and we had snacks. It was just so much fun. They did such a great job decorating. We had posters in the lobby, the wanted posters like from Azkaban. So that was really, really cool. And then the only other thing of kind of a note is Tuesday was one of our first really, really beautiful days. The sun was out. It was like 70 degrees. And so for dinner that night, we chose, my husband and my oldest son came with us too. We went to one of our local burger stands, which is kind of out by the lake. And we enjoyed our first visit there. I love the hot dogs there. And I know it's like my guilty pleasure. Hot dogs are really not great for you, but I love the hot dogs. So that's what I always get when I go there. But it was really great to just sit there and enjoy the fresh air. We had some other things we could have done, but I made that suggestion. It's like, let's take advantage because summer is short here in Maine. And when the weather turns nice, we want to capitalize on it. So that's what we did. And that was our Tuesday. It was wonderful. The rest of the week was actually not as bad as I kind of had thought it was going to be when I looked at the weather report earlier in the week, where like after Tuesday, it was all clouds with rain in the forecast. And we did have some rain, but not nearly as much as it looked like. And I think we don't have any brilliant sunny days coming up, but I think we'll have more of the same moving forward. As long as I see the sun a little bit, then we'll be okay. We can do it. So that is all that I have for today. Thank you so much for listening. And I didn't say this at the beginning, but if this is your first podcast, thank you for joining me, and thank you for coming back. If this is not your first time, you can find me on Ravelry or Instagram as Knittin' Michelle. And I will have all of the links to my projects and things that I reference down below in the show notes. You can also email me if you have any questions, comments, or anything at michellesfiberstudio@gmail.com. Of course, you can leave a comment below. And if you enjoyed the podcast, please don't forget to like and subscribe. That really makes a difference in the metrics, and I would appreciate it. After with all that, tripping over my words this Friday afternoon, I hope you have a great week and happy knitting.